opportunity when you talked about, you weren't specific when you said there were some of the biggest content providers are supporting. Well, what does that mean? Who is it? So name dropping in lots of places is not appropriate. In this instance, it is very appropriate because that, especially being a New Zealand company, you don't validate yourself because here it's who you know. So as a contrast, you did a great job of that. If you notice that last slide, it was like, I'm from Silicon Valley, here are the world authorities on this, and there were a few Kiwis slided in there and it made it work, right? Where we didn't see that from you on, well, customers would have validated that you're actually someone I should listen to, and you missed that chance. And then also your management team, board of directors, that wasn't there. So once again, I don't really know who you are. So you sound good, but I don't really know if I want to go there, where here we had a more formulaic approach, which was issue in the market, size of the market, there's some real people behind this, we've got some real customers. So you sort of missed an opportunity, but I think it sounds very exciting, a lot of opportunity, what you're doing. There we go, Pardon? Yeah, no, I was trying to think, and I'm going to come back and think about, and I think the other thing is, I don't really know how to help because I don't quite know what you're looking for. So, right, so sounds like you've got it all organised, so I'm thinking, great. Before I can, I just don't know right now, so maybe you can take it as a follow-up item. And I'm going to use Claudia's point is that I don't really know anything about life science, so I really can't add a lot. I thought you did it's clear your experience in startups and how you laid it out. And I thought that was a really nice linkage you did in terms of relating New Zealand and US. So I do know some Kiwis who've done really well in bio, but it doesn't really sound like you need that experience. So I suppose once again I would say it always can help, right?
Yeah, always use it.
Yeah, so once again, just like to know, I don't know if I can do a lot of help. I seem to know some potato people, but I don't know.
All right, Parrot Analytics. Yeah, you had fantastic energy and you told a good story and you, I think, engaged everybody. You definitely kept everybody interested, which was great. You even specifically engaged the audience. So I think that was fantastic. You actually did a really good job. Spent quite a lot of time on it, but a really great job of laying out the problem that you're going after and the solution. I thought that was compelling. It's really intriguing what you're doing. I mean, actually, if I had been sitting there, one of my questions would have been, how did you come up with this idea? What's the story behind that? And you did a great job at the end of throwing in, we're raising this much, but most of it is committed. Yeah. Nothing gets investors more interested than acting like there's no opportunity for them to get in, and you probably won't act it. But the more they think you don't need them, the more interested they probably are. So that was a really great line to throw in. Yeah, and just in general, I think it certainly was intriguing enough that I would think I'd like to know more about that. Some things that you could maybe do a little, to improve it. I thought people may not dig into this, but I thought your classification of the market size was probably, people could poke holes in that probably pretty quickly, because you were talking about the market size of all the companies, all the businesses that are in your market, not the analytics or marketing, the size of the analytics or marketing budgets for that industry. So I think someone could maybe poke holes in that. And I also jotted down, you sort of throughout, you had these partnerships with certain content providers, but there wasn't a lot more to it. The other thing, this is a small thing, but you had a slide that was titled business model, but I don't think you were telling about your business model. It seemed like you were telling more about your product kind of strategy and rollout. The other thing that was definitely not clear to me is if you do have a product or you have a vision for a product. If you have a vision for a product, then maybe what you're doing is a good way to do it. If you have a real product, then tell us more about it. It wasn't clear to me at all whether you've actually got something or if this is just an idea. And the team, yeah, you could definitely give more details about the team. I think that would enhance it a lot. But yeah, certainly great delivery. PolyBatics, I had to use the same qualifier at the end of the day. I bullshit anyone, but I know a lot about your space. But what I would say is, you started out and I'm like, oh my god, how am I going to talk about this? I don't even know what I was talking about. But then you actually did a really great setup of the problem and the solution, I think, at least enough that I felt like I got it. The one slide that I think, if you're talking to a true layman kind of audience, the one slide that I didn't get was when you had all the proteins pointing in one direction, and I'm like, great, they're pointing in one direction, I'm not sure what that means. Why is that important? Look pretty. Yeah, look pretty. Look like they were more organized.
It's neat.
Tiny protein. The rest I could get, but that slide was one where I'd say, if depending on who your audience is, and probably you're pitching generally to an audience that really is in your industry and space, but if you're not, I think you could give more explanation for why that was important. You mentioned the revenue number. There was was hard to understand. Was that your first year of selling the product? How was it growing? So was it, most of that came in the last part of the year and it's growing this fast. So if you give some context of what that means, that's your first year and it's all coming at the end. That's really impressive if you've been trying to eke that out for many, many years. And there's nothing in there about competitors, I don't think, and IP. Who else is doing this and what is your unique IP or what makes you guys unique? Otherwise, great job of laying out your expertise, the team. It seems like you're solving something really tangible. The other thing I like is, I like it when you can articulate why now, like why is this a good idea now? And you're able to do that by saying the drug industry is really changing. It's going from blockbusters to these more tailored drug, and this has created this opportunity, and you guys are here to solve it. I think that's great for you to answer that. I don't know anyone. Let me know about it. It's not me. To you, and it was hard to know what context you need if you're looking for other businesses that are in the analytics space specifically. That's certainly an area where I could know people that are in different, everything from Google Analytics down to different things, but I'm not sure if it's happening.
Thank you.
So Parrot, I know a little bit more about your company than just tonight. It's fascinating what you're doing. I still think that you haven't figured out exactly what you're going to do with that information. I understand the angle you're taking, and I think that's going to be a good market entry, a good starting point. I think there's more, meat on the bones. So, and I'm not going to go, I could talk about this for hours because it's metrics, it's marketing, it's data, it's like everything that gets me excited. And it is exciting. I think what you're doing is really exciting. I agree. I think you need to talk a lot more about your team and, the nous that you have. Because again, when I hear you with what I know, and you're going to be pitching to people who know the space, they're going to be the ones investing, I want to hear how you guys can pivot, how you guys can play with this, how you can get market and really figure it out. Again, the product's not clear, the pricing model's not clear, but there's something juicy and interesting there. I think you're throwing around actionable analytics way too loosely. I don't think you're really, actionable analytics is about here is this, and if you push this button, you can do, so I'm hearing it with a different ear, probably I think you want to dive into that and not just throw it out as a term, because it's getting a lot. Again, with who you're pitching it to, you want to be precise about that. Again, I love the predictive modeling piece, and I think that is interesting. I'd want to hear a little bit more about that again. And again, this is 5 minutes. It's like really unfair. But again, this is on the money for where a big trend is right now, and so people are listening and they're savvy about what they want to hear. I'm so glad to say big data. Thank you. I think the team's a little light. The team is great, so you want to talk that up, and did you throw that in at the end because there was a comment about team, because it felt like you were just like, we have a really great team. I love that you said, well, we're raising this much, but we're almost closed. I agree. It's like, really? Okay. Other people are in. So I think that was fantastic. I think you want to, I agree, your audience participation was fantastic and you're so powerful. I would pull it back just a little bit because I'm feeling a little talked at and not talked with. And I think you lost a tiny bit of enunciation with that. You've got some really punchy terms there that I wasn't hearing the first time. So I'm being a little critical, I'm being unfair, because it's a really, really interesting concept, so, gosh. Okay, so that was, I think the investor piece is really interesting. You'll probably dial that up a bit with the product and with the pricing and being a bit more defined about the market opportunity and talking about the opportunity to go into other places. I do think, as I said, there's more meat on those bones. Connections, I'm really connected. I've been feeding you guys a few things and we'll just keep that in play. PolyBatics. I know enough to be dangerous in a not good way. I thought you were fantastic. I just, it's clear that you've got experience and I'm intoxicated just to listen to you. This was just so solid. I want to know more about proteins and everything you were talking about, but I know very little about it. I agree, I got confused by the tiny proteins, so I'd want to understand that. And again, I think, I don't know who's in this audience, but for us, certainly this is not our area, so it feels a little unfair, but all of this has just been taking notes. The clients piece, I was wanting to hear a little bit more about, I know a little bit about commercializing this kind of product, and I wanted to hear a little bit more about your strategy there, because it's not plug and play, you're right, it's a long lead time, and there's a lot of fearfulness from your clients, so knowing a little bit about your team and the experience of putting those deals together would be something that I'd be wanting to listen to. And I want to hear a bit more about the New Zealand tie-in. I feel like there's you've been here and then you're in New Zealand. New Zealand's got this fantastic biotech, play going on. So I want to hear a tiny bit more, I guess, about that. But again, it may just be that most of the people you pitch to understand what you're talking about and can lead straight into the juice. I don't know, but I thought you presented your team innocently. So I've probably got a few connections. So maybe we can chat about what you need. I think that's a good point for both of you. I loved Linda's point. In this country, the more you'll hear, how can I help? It's the standard question that you get asked by you, and I ask it now. I don't even think about it. I was talking to somebody earlier today, and I was like, how can I help? What can I do? And it's what we ask, and then we get told what we can do to help. And I think it's a great technique. It's a really great technique. So I don't know how I can help, but please tell me. I guess open invitation. Great job. Great. I loved all the pitches. Great businesses. So interesting. Well done for bringing such a diverse group of businesses together.